now watching the lifestyle segment on the weekend show. My name is Andy Malaki.
And I'm Eddie Young Frank.
How was your week?
It was good, busy, productive, good.
I had an interesting week, a bit of a busy week, but the highlight of my week was I got to moderate a social mixer for Worthy, which had Apricot Doctor, Adeswa Etomi,
Yeah, I saw that.
Jemima, Sunday, Full Storms and some people, and it was just around work which they're doing around women economic empowerment
Okay.
and women's health, which we had conversations with them last year.
Yes, we did.
And it just occurred to me that was July 30th last year. It's already been
Really?
6 whole months. And it just felt like we had just done that. And having that conversation, seeing various young people using their platform for advocacy just made me feel really good, which is why it brings us to this conversation about diversity and inclusion in entrepreneurship in Nigeria. Now, the reason why this is important is that it's one thing for you to say, oh, we need to create a level playing field, but you also need to give people the resources. You need to give them the tools. You need to put money in the hands of these people. And there's already the huge gap. I think I had a conversation with someone recently, and we were like, as much as you want to hide it or not, it's still a man's world in the sense that the decision makers in certain positions are already men or already white people, which now makes it harder for younger people to come in, harder for women to come in, and people of color. And we see what's happening in the US where everything is being blamed on
Everything.
DEI. Which is why we must have this conversation so Nigerians also understand what this conversation is about and how it relates to us in our own country. And joining us to have this conversation,
We have Tuzi Atuzi, who's the Partners Relations and Communications Lead at GEF. Good morning.
Good morning, Young. Good morning, Andy.
Thanks for coming on. Happy New Year.
Same to
Happy New
you.
Month.
Happy New Month.
Happy New Year,
Like,
Happy New Month.
New Year has
At
expired.
what point do we stop saying Happy
Now.
New
I think
Year?
now. I
Now,
think
now it's
yeah.
fine.
Okay, so now it's Happy New Month. So
Yeah.
Happy New Month. It's good having you back here on this side of the camera as opposed to being on the other side.
Other side of the camera, thank you.
How have you been?
I've been very well. I've been learning, I've been growing, exploring the markets, gaining new information, and basically communicating the value of inclusivity, diversity in terms of entrepreneurship.
Tell me, what is GEF and what's it about?
Okay, GEF is the Global Entrepreneurship Festival. It's usually celebrated during the Global Entrepreneurship Week. What it's about basically is creating that ecosystem where entrepreneurs from all parts of the world can come together, talk about the challenges that they are facing in different parts of the world, as well as providing solutions. So it's like a mixer, but a larger mixer, because tons of people come in where there are industry experts, there are leaders, policy makers, there are entrepreneur enthusiasts, there are, entrepreneurs themselves, venture capitalists, investors, and all of that.
Okay, so let's go back to diversity and inclusion. What impact does diversity and inclusion have in business success?
Okay, I'll start with the negative impact of non-diversity and inclusion. Like Andy already mentioned, there's already a large amount of underrepresentation of women, people even with disabilities. The fact that they have disabilities doesn't necessarily mean that they do not have something to, give forth and all of that. And, we are in a world where the men champion conversations around business success and all of that. However, we find out that when it's time for a woman to lead, she often does better. And I feel it's because God himself has already given us that power to bring life. We already bring life into the world. We can bring life into things. We can bring life into businesses. So if you want a robust nation, when they say be fruitful and multiply, if you want a nation or a system where productivity, fruitfulness is predominant, then you should include women. You should consider, other people. Positive impacts of diversity and inclusion is access to new markets. It's access to, opportunities. We foster better collaboration, better partnerships, better conversations, because for now it feels like it's a village champion kind of game for the men because they feel like they are the only ones that can do it. But if we have a better and more leveled playground, we get to see, strengths and displays from other people. Or this is how an Andy will handle this, and this is how a Tuzi, and an Eddie Young who handle it as well. So yeah, I feel like those are like some of the impacts of diversity and inclusion.
At some point, I used to call myself an entrepreneur when I was in my 20s and early 30s. And then at some point, Nigeria made me feel, when they talk about entrepreneurship, it's like young people who are doing business. But once they're a certain age range, then they're businessmen or businesswomen. Because I'm like, what's the difference between this person and the other when we both have companies which we are running, but because someone's in an age group? And so there's this misconception that entrepreneurship is a young people's space. It's for young people. Can you talk about that?
Well, entrepreneurship is not, like, you're actually like very correct. Entrepreneurship is not a young people's thing. These are some of the misconceptions that some people hold true. Oh, you're 45 and above. Who are you? I'm a businessman. I run this, that. No, you're an entrepreneur. You're in the marketplace just as the person who is 18, 19, or 20. You both do businesses. And if we should even place both of you on the same pedestal, they'll probably have more innovative strategies, than you do. What I would even say in this conversation is for there to be this kind of mix, this kind of collaboration between the people that are there and the people that, is age gap. Because the businessman is running with the idea of commodity, and the entrepreneur that is young is running with the idea of value, goods and services, basically. So,
What are the biggest barriers, for lack of a better word, that underrepresented entrepreneurs face?
First, I'd say monopoly. I mean, generally in economics, we all know monopoly is when the marketing power and production power is centralized towards one particular. And I'd say that is the biggest. Why? Because we do not even, when we say diversity, beyond the kind of people we talk about, the kind of services, we see that, predominant here, if you hear, I'm a farmer, it's like you're a poor person. And the farmer may be richer than the person that is doing it's a big glass house business, etc. So, those kind of barriers restrict diversity. We can't, when we're doing the GAF last year, we're like, the people in music and arts business, they're entrepreneurs, and people were kind of taken aback and debating it. I'm like, excuse you, they're filmmakers, it's a business. They're producers, it's a business. They're music, what you call Don Jazzy's kind of people. They're also like entrepreneurs. So people have not come to understand that there is a certain sense of mix beyond, I'm a banker, or I do a banking business, I do oil and gas, I do real estate. That's not the only business that exists. So when we have conversations like this that foster diversity and inclusion, we get to understand that there are also different aspects to entrepreneurship beyond the popular names and the regular go-tos. There's aviation business, there is tourism business, there is mining. It seems like the sailors are just in the sea, and if you're on land, you're like the only one practicing. So, that's the diversity that we look forward to. That's the diversity that I feel would also help Nigeria as a nation, because I feel like we're heavily reliant on a particular type of entrepreneurship or doing business as our forefathers used to know it.
I like that. When I think about entrepreneurship, the next word which comes to mind is innovation. And that's because a lot of people are entrepreneurs now, people who are finding innovative ways to make things better, faster, cheaper, easily accessible. In Nigeria, we have the Ministry of Science and Technology and Innovation. The reason why I say this is that most often people outsource the responsibilities of the people to the government. And so when we talk about inclusivity and diversity, we've had a gender and equal opportunities bill in Nigeria which hasn't come into law. We've had every 3 years, when it's close to election, there's an electoral amendment where they'll say, let's add an extra seat for women in the election, and then it disappears, then it comes up every 3 years. But whose role is it to ensure that we have inclusion and equity and diversity in the workspace? And when I say the workspace, it's because over 60% of Nigeria's businesses are from the informal sector. And so
Yeah.
those are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the person who is selling hair or the person who is selling food. Growing up, someone looked at me and told me, you're going to do upholstery in this life. And I was like, hey, they've called me carpenter. And I felt it was a huge insult. Then we didn't even have the internet.
Yeah.
So I had to go and check the dictionary,
Yeah.
upholstery. And so I was like, okay, American Sons. But now I see a couch, a chair for
Yeah.
₦1 million. I mean, now you
Interior
see chairs for
designer.
8 million
Absolutely.
naira and all whatnot. So whose role is it to take leadership when it comes to these conversations?
Okay, it is Tuesday at Tuesday's role. It's Andy Madaki's role. It is Eddie Young's role. It's the role of the government. It's the role of our pastors. It's the role of our parents. Basically, it is everybody's role. We're in a part of the world where you're growing up in an African home, and let's say you like to sell. Your parents feel like you're off to no good. Like, this is not the reason why you were born. Please go and study law, go and practice medicine. But I want to be a footballer. I want to be a coach. I want to, have my own, football brand. Oh, I want to be a farmer. It's everybody's role to take leadership. The problem is that we rely on the government for leadership, but there's something called self-leadership. And trust me, if everybody does their part, if your parents allow the children to be, I say that because, being for me means become and being. If parents allow the children to be, if you allow yourself to be, oh, you want to do upholstery, as much as you saw that it looks like a carpentry work, and you decide that this is what I want to actually try out, and you do it. You've taken leadership in that space. If we're enlightened in the places where we learn social media, churches, mosques, etc., we would understand that we are to take, some churches allow you do, skill acquisition, entrepreneurship projects. There are also like other cooperatives that do things like that, entrepreneurship, innovation program, etc., etc. If we keep doing this, we keep having these conversations, we keep, propelling these initiatives, one day, something's going to bow.
Absolutely. Could you share a success story of an entrepreneur who was able to, overcome all these barriers and is now having a thriving, a successful business?
Okay, so I'll share a story of myself.
Okay.
Andy already mentioned, I used to be behind, the camera and all of that. And I actually did not think I wanted to practice anything in line with communications and PR, but it's already a gift that God has given to me to be able to speak, to be able to compare information in the way that people understand. And if I look back, first I'm a woman, there's already that societal barrier. Women should not speak. Some people still say women should not talk in the church. For me, I will talk. You will not, stop my mouth. And I remember when I wanted to start my project management business, first off, at that time, they said they wanted light-skinned girls. And I'm light-skinned, but then I was like, tanned because of sun and suffering. But, there was always that, oh, you didn't make the cut, you didn't make the cut, you didn't make the cut. That would have made the average person feel bad and, maybe go and work in a place where you probably not be seen. But there was just this determination and zeal. Seeing people who could do. I come here, I see Andy, I see Dan Osasu doing. I'm looking at her, I'm like, well, she's talking and nobody's stopping her. So I also can. And, I stayed around them, I learned from them, and I took it out on my own to, practice, develop myself. And as I was doing that, I also noticed that I always create opportunities for people around me too. Oh, you too can. Oh, let's go and, and I feel that's a pretty much short, simple story so that I don't take all of your time.
I like what you're doing, and there's this, lately they call it holding space. We need people to hold spaces for other people. That space, and you're doing that. I'm really proud of you. I love the growth. I've watched you over the last 6, 7
it's been 6
years.
years.
Exactly, and you've been doing amazing. Just before we let you go, what's next for GF? What's planned for this year?
Okay, so we have the GF 2025, coming up. Last year, we recorded good success stories, and I'm sure I'll definitely come again, maybe towards, time for maybe more activation. I'd like for you to be there anyway, and, just so you could come and see. If you come and see, you'll be able to tell better stories, you'll be able to see what people are doing. But for this year, we're still same game. We're having, world leaders, renowned speakers come talk, but beyond the speaking, because we almost always have one conference or the other with no change. So here's what we're doing differently. We do 12 events across 3 days. from fashion to art to sports to politics to leadership forums to exhibitions, trade fair, hackathon, robotics, basically touching every aspect of the 360 entrepreneur. So there's something for everybody, whoever you are, whether you're a miner or a farmer. That's not a place where we forget that you exist. So there are going to be conversations, breakout rooms, centered around it. And I'd like that people stay plugged. You can check
Where can
them.
they find you?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram at the Global Entrepreneurship Festival. Same thing as well as our website, www.globalentrepreneurshipfestival. And we also recognize, entrepreneurs, high level, middle level, low level, who are doing very well in different parts of the world. Big news, we're having our first press conference on the 3rd in Atlanta. So we're doing the press conferences in different parts of the world because people understood and they want to have the conversation driven in their continent and in their country. And I know it's going to be a beautiful time. I look forward to seeing the both of you and you watching us. And yeah, it's beyond an event. It's a place where we understand entrepreneurship, include innovation, and foster better collaboration across
Ladies and
boards.
gentlemen, Susie, thank you so much. Proud of you.
Thank you so much. I like hearing that.
Something which I thought about last week and we should introduce on this show, maybe 3 to 5 minutes on investing. Because all of our lives we've been told and taught to grow up and make money to get what you need.
Exactly.
And so everybody is now working and hustling to get what they need. And I don't think we do a lot of conversations around what to do with this money when you've gotten the money. How do you invest this money? I've tried my hand in a couple of things, but I feel this is a conversation more people should know about. There are treasury bills, there are mutual money funds, there are dollar funds, there are even investment platforms. And this is not even like marketing for anybody, but there's stuff like Bamboo where you can, even if it means playing around to see how the stock market works, it's a conversation which we must have because for most of us here and our generation, your idea of being comfortable is seeing your account balance and knowing I have X, Y, Z amount.
Yeah.
Instead of the money
And it's
sitting
just
there,
exactly
the money can work for you.
Work better.
Yes,
for
and
you.
Nigerian banks are steadily taking one
Yeah.
fee or the other, and so the money and the value is dropping. So
Especially with the new CBN policy, where when I send money to you, there's a
They
deduction
take-
from me and
yes,
there's a deduction from you,
the
the
other.
receiver.
So we need to have more conversations around saving investment. And this is me committing. We'll find a way to get that. We'll get the right person to have these conversations with us going forward. Say if we start in March.
Yes, smart works.
Good. That's what we can take on the lifestyle segment. We'll take a break. When we return, more on the Weekend Show.